Hello, I'm AJ Vanek, and welcome to Dungeon Masters Inc.
Welcome to our first episode. If you're like me, you're asking yourself, what's this channel going to be about? Pretty simple. This channel is for DMs who are past DM 101. You know, DM 101, you've read the books, you've learned the basics of being a dungeon master. But D&D is pretty complex. There's a lot of aspects to D&D to cover, and there's lots of tips and tricks and things that are out there for advanced dungeon masters. You know, how to adapt to games, how to talk to players, how to get players involved, all sorts of accessories and tools that dungeon masters can use. That's what we're going to be covering over this channel. So stick with us, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's see. I started playing D&D about 1980, 79, 80. I was in the third grade. I had some older friends who were like, hey, let's come. I got this new game. Let's check out this new game. Turned out it was Dungeons and Dragons. And we played a lot of board games, but there was nothing like D&D. Obviously, nothing's like D&D. Just, you know, where you can go, the things you can do, you know, characters can evolve. The game doesn't really have to end if you don't want it to. So I was hooked. So I was DMing very soon after. So I started DMing about 80, 81. You know, I think the first thing that I DM'd was Secret Bone Hill, you know, old module. So I go back a ways, and I've been playing constantly ever since, you know, so I played obviously basic set, expert set, advanced, then obviously second edition, 3, 3.5, that's the dreaded 4, and currently 5e. So what's the largest number of players I've DM'd in a group? Okay, I guess that's kind of a twofold question. So the first answer is 12. Around 1988, it was in high school, and I ran a module called Saga of the Shadow Lord. Great module, fantastic. Stephen Bourne wrote it a couple years prior. I think he wrote it in 86. Good time. Had 12 players for second edition module. You know, 12. You can do some high numbers in second edition if everybody moves pretty quick. It was half girls, half boys, and then we had somebody's parent playing. So that's probably the biggest number in a single group session. However, currently running a 5e campaign, a homebrew, I've designed it myself. I have 18 players, but those 18 players run in 3 different groups. So we have 3 groups that all interact in the same world. They can interact with each other. Most of them is via sending spells. We've had a couple of in real life meetings where they can exchange information, exchange items, and the story arcs kind of cover all 3 groups. So 18, kind of like in a campaign setting that's continuous. So the regular players, they don't just drop in, drop out. Each group is kind of dedicated on its own schedule. 18 per campaign, I guess 12 per session. That's the largest number so far. So how long have I run campaigns for? So if it's not a one-shot or a singular module, campaigns usually for me are at least about 2 years. Now I've had a couple that have run for 4 years. So I'm not into ginormous campaigns. Obviously growing up, friends move, things happen. You know, recently COVID, of course, you know, that happens. But I'd say 2 years. 2 years is a pretty good campaign for most people. What are my favorite modules? Let's see. That's going to be hard. So most people are going to say things like Tomb of Horrors or Against the Giants or maybe Expedition to Barrier Peaks, White Plume Mountain, you know, maybe something in the Desert Desolation series, some of these old classics. But I think for me personally, my old-time favorite of the old modules is Castle Amber. So Tom Mulvey wrote Castle Amber in 1981, and Castle Amber, I did that as a player first, so it captured the imagination, has intrigue, has mystery, you know, pretty high fantasy. Castle appears, disappears. You know, I was totally hooked as a player. Since then, you know, I've run it several times for various groups, And every single time a group goes through it, they just love it. There's something about it, at least one or two of the players are just like, oh, it's my all-time favorite. So I love Castle Amber, and Castle Amber will probably always be in almost any setting that I run as far as a homebrew. It's got to be somewhere. Whether they find it or not, that's up to them. All-time favorite, that's it. So I think the next one would be John Ratliff in 1999 wrote Return to Keep on the Borderlands. So the original Keep on the Borderlands came out in the basic set, little basic box that we all got, one of the very first modules out there. Return to Keep on the Borderlands was a 25th anniversary edition. So the 25-year anniversary in 1999, Return to Keep on the Borderlands came out. I love that module because he did a really good job of writing the intrigue at the keep. So when the characters went to the Caves of Chaos and when they came back, that things had changed and the stories kind of kept moving forward in the background. That really, as a DM, sunk into me that things move when the PCs are moving. Now I know some DMs are like, oh yeah, of course they do. But I see a lot of DMs out there that the monsters just kind of sit in their rooms, twiddling their thumbs, waiting until the PCs come along and kill them, or deal with whatever, right? But one of those advanced tips is, things move. DMs can't take 8 hours naps in the middle of the dungeon, or else the monster's probably going to figure something out. And to Keep on the Borderlands, the way it moved like that really sunk that in for me as a DM, and I love that module. That's a good module. Recently, Wizards of the Coast did Princes of the Apocalypse. I say recently, 2015. Takes characters from 1 to 17. So first of all, that's a whole campaign in one module. So that's fantastic. But it also played that movement behind the scenes card, where the PCs kind of had this ability to go where they wanted, but the things that happen in the module writes it down a really good way of, well, if they're not here, this is what happens when they get here. And if they go here first, this is the way this is now. So that module has a little of the open-endedness where the PC's choices do matter, and they can really mess up if they go after certain things first. There's a logical order, but there's also, the hard road. And that module does a pretty good job of laying it out, as well as the story's well written. It's a very cool module. I like that one as far as the 5e content goes. It's probably one of my favorites. So what are my favorite types of players? Hybrid player. I want a player, player who enjoys his RP, who has some, tactical soundness to them. They know how to move their mini, they know, distance and things like that. Some of the basic rules. There really isn't a bad player per se, unless somebody's really just out to kind of disrupt your game. But my favorite players are, they can do both. Do some RP. You're good tactically. You control your character. You keep character information as character information. There's difference between player information, character information. So somebody who does that. Those are my favorite players. Now you know about me, but I want to know about you. I want to know your questions. I want to know what do you want to know? So ask your questions down here. Give me ideas for content, things that we can talk about. I'll have guests, and we'll address these things so that as a DM, you can overcome obstacles. Or maybe you just want to take your game to the next level. What are the coolest tools out there that you're using that helps elevate your game? Maybe you're struggling in a certain part. You know the rules, you know how to do it, but maybe there's just something where it's like you keep coming up against it and it's like your players just aren't adapting the way you think they should. These are the things that Dungeon Masters Inc. is here to help you with. So thanks for joining me on the first episode. I thought it was important to go ahead and get who I am out of the way. And next time, we'll start diving into some of these questions that you guys have, as well as, showing off some of the new accessories that are out there, in order to make your game, more elevated. So hit like, and I hope to see you next time.